today's discussion, we'll talk about inquiry-based teaching. So what is an inquiry-based teaching? An inquiry-based teaching is a pedagogical approach that invites students to explore academic content by posing, investigating, and answering questions, and this is also known as a problem-based teaching or simply known as inquiry. Research on inquiry-based teaching has often focused on its application in science and math education, but the approach is equally well suited to the teaching of the humanities. Likewise, some believe that an inquiry-based approach can't be implemented until late in a student's school career, but the process of teaching and learning through personal investigation is appropriate for students from preschool through graduate school. So, what is the role of teachers in an inquiry-based teaching? The role of the teacher in an inquiry-based classroom is to help students generate their own content-related questions and guide the investigation that follows. The role of the teacher in an inquiry-based classroom is quite different from that of a teacher in a conventional classroom. Instead of providing direct instruction to students, teachers help students generate their own content-related questions and guide the investigation that follows because of the role of the teacher in an inquiry-based classroom is unconventional. It is sometimes misunderstood. Administrators, parents, or even students may not recognize the hard work that goes into planning and implementing an inquiry-based approach. In fact, it may seem that teachers aren't doing anything as students struggle to formulate questions and seek out answers. Nothing could be further from the truth when teachers chose to use an inquiry-based approach. They commit to provide rich experiences that provoke students' thinking and curiosity, to plan carefully constructed questioning sequences, to manage multiple students' investigations at the same time, to continuously assess the progress of each student as they work toward their solution or final product, and to respond in the moment to students' emerging queries and discoveries. Why do teachers use inquiry-based teaching? Teachers use inquiry-based learning to boost student engagement. Inquiry-based learning is more than asking a student what he or she wants to know. It's about triggering curiosity. And activating a student's curiosity is, I would argue, a far more important and complex goal than mere information delivery. Despite its complexity, inquiry-based learning can be easier on teachers, partly because it transfers some responsibilities from teachers to students, but mostly because releasing authority engages students. How important is inquiry-based teaching? Inquiry-based teaching is very important because it transforms a classroom of students into a classroom of teachers. Inquiry-based teaching can easily be combined with collaborative groupings because it allows students to work and learn as a team. With clearly set expectations and clearly defined roles, students explore, discuss, and come up with creative ways to approach a complex task, learning more as a team than they would individually. Often, peer learning is just as effective as teacher-led learning. Indeed, the most meaningful aha moments often come in authentic interaction with peers. Then, suddenly, your class is transformed into space where everyone is a teacher. Now, what is the purpose of an inquiry-based teaching? One of the main purposes of inquiry-based teaching is it teaches how to apply the knowledge gained from inquiry. One of the best ways for a student to remember the information they learned is through practical application. Many times, following a lesson or lecture, students will walk away with a page full of notes and not much else. Inquiry-based learning changes these lessons into opportunities for students and their own answers through their own application. Let's say, for example, Instead of simply teaching the facts about global warming, students would be asked how global warming affects them. This creates the need for them to think through the information they already have and apply it to themselves and their lives. This type of application makes the greatest impact as it becomes something they incorporate into their daily thought processes and sometimes even into their own belief systems. Why inquiry-based teaching matter? Inquiry-based learning will benefit each student in different ways. Those that struggles with certain concepts can experience less stress and frustration as they gain the ability to explore material in a way that increases their confidence and abilities. Students who are above average in other areas will be given a chance to branch into new territory as they take their current knowledge even farther. Parents will see the positive effects of inquiry-based knowledge at home as well. They'll find their students are more willing to complete homework, assignments, and engage in learning at home. In addition, parents of inquiry-based learners often see an improvement in their students' grades and an increase in their child's motivation when it comes to reaching academic milestones. Though it may take time to switch to an inquiry-based learning system, there are small, short-term ways to implement it throughout the week. It can start by simply removing a worksheet assignment and replacing it with one that requires inquiry and observation. Teachers will often find that behavior issues decline when more inquiry-based activities are provided in the classroom, such opportunities reduce behavior problems due to boredom, fatigue, and frustration. Continuous efforts are being made in the field of education for developing new methods to impart knowledge efficiently. All schools occupies a significant part of human personality development and success. To improvise the engagement of the student in the learning process, newer and better professions are essential. In this stride, the concept of inquiry-based learning has evolved. The traditional classroom approach defeats the purpose of an efficient learning process a majority of the time. The monotonous approach does not grab the attention of the students, and hence, they are not able to utilize their full potential and contemplate the material being taught. Therefore, inquiry-based learning can significantly help in improvising the education program. Here are 5 advantages of an inquiry-based in teaching. First, it improvises the learning experience. Since this process gravitates towards practicality, students can retain the concepts learned in this method for a significant period. Students, instead of memorizing the concepts, understand them and can also clarify their doubts. This enhances the learning experience of the student. Second, it develops analytical thinking skills. Since the students get to decide what they have to learn, students develop better analytical skills. They explore the roots of every concept and get their comprehensive skills get improvised. Students become more aware and also develop better cognitive skills in this process. Third, it promotes curiosity and the will to learn. Inquiry-based learning fosters curiosity among the students as they start to inquire what they are being taught. They develop more doubts and can enhance the clarity of the concepts they learn. They feel encouraged to share their opinions and explore everything to their best potential. Fourth, better understanding of the topics. In-depth analysis of a particular topic is entrenched in the style of learning. Students can understand the basics of the topics and also learn them at an extensive level. This way, the credibility of knowledge increases manifold. Also, the students can retain the knowledge or a significant amount of times as they fully understand it. For example, A math teacher might demonstrate how to solve a problem in a traditional lesson, but during an inquiry-based lesson, the teacher can see how each student views a problem and the steps they take to get a solution in their own unique way. Teachers are then able to gain deeper knowledge or deeper understanding of how the students think and learn. Lastly, active student participation. As the learning procedure becomes more fun, students actively participate in it. Students start to love the process of learning and hence practice it eagerly. The interaction between the students and the teachers also gets enhanced, and the communication skills of the students improvise. Altogether, inquiry-based learning uplifts the classroom ambience. Now, let's proceed to the disadvantages of inquiry-based in teaching. Although the disadvantages in this process are not so prominent, there are a few shortcomings that cannot be ignored. Through proper management, these disadvantages can be eliminated. Here are a few disadvantages and some solutions as well. First, several students who are shy and timid may face problems due to the lack of confidence. This can be overcome by providing extended support and individual attention to the students by the teacher. Second, if the teacher is covertly minded towards this concept, its effectiveness can be hampered. Hence, the teacher needs to accept it to practice it wholeheartedly. Third, improper setting can also deteriorate its effectiveness. A proper system should be developed where every student is provided with the opportunity to put forward their opinions. A mismanaged situation can prove to be no beneficial. Next is a lack of a base can make the whole process non-productive. Hence, a teacher needs to be full versed and encourage the students to steer in the right direction. Sometimes confusion may get created among the students. So now, let's proceed to the core principles of inquiry-based learning. So what is meant by inquiry-based learning? An inquiry-based learning is a learning process that engages students by making real-world connections through exploration and high-level questioning. It is an approach to learning that encourages students to engage in problem-solving and experiential learning. First, deep engagement in rich mathematics. Deep engagement in rich mathematics is the first pillar and is an encompassing phrase indicating that students are actively and intentionally working on the challenging mathematics problems. It means that the students themselves do a significant portion of the development of mathematical ideas which are more sophisticated than rote skill level exercises. Although rote skill work is valued and developed. Typically, students do not know the answer or method ahead of time, and the questions generally require grappling with mathematical ideas before arriving at a solution to the problem. Next is opportunities to collaborate. Collaboration is the second pillar and can come in many forms. The most common is structured group work. Students are asked questions and work collaboratively as a team to think through mathematical ideas. Students' thinking benefits from verbalizing their thoughts, and in doing so, students learn how to effectively communicate mathematics orally and in written form. Collaboration can take other forms besides from group work. For example, in an upper division course with a focus on proof, students often present their proofs to the entire class. The class peer reviews the proof, discussing its features such as validity, techniques, and coherence. Hence, class discussion is a class-wide collaboration moderated by the instructor. In this case, the class works together to validate and understand the meaning of proof. And I think that ends my discussion. Let me give the floor to my co-reporter.
Alright, thank you, Mr. Maleza. And now, let's proceed to the teacher's role in inquiry-based teaching. So here are the following teacher's role in inquiry-based teaching according to Warner and Myers 2008. So first, we have the starting the inquiry process. So teachers can start or begin their inquiry process by introducing topics and encouraging questioning kay since inquiry-based teaching man ta. So ang center sa atong curriculum is the students' questions and modeling what it looks like to be curious. Kay if ma-curious ang students, then mas dali sila maka-learn kay they want to explore man, and by that mas ma-widen ang ilahang knowledge about the topic or the subject. Promoting student dialogue. So ang student dialogue is based on students' freedom. So teachers can let their students question each other and share their opinions freely, while of course setting ground rules to maintain good classroom behavior. Kay ang pag-promote sa student dialogue maka-encourage of critical thinking, social skills, and deep exploration. Next, we have the transitioning between small groups and classroom discussions. So, transitioning can strengthen and support learning. And importante po nga ang pag-process sa teacher sa transitioning is dapat i-consider niya ang student needs. Transitioning in teaching pod is importante kay ana nagdepend ang learning sa students. Next, intervening to clear misconceptions or develop students' understanding of content material. So teachers can pay attention to discussion and clarify misconceptions. They can also add information to further develop the students' understanding of the material. Through that, makahatag ang teacher og knowledge as well as ma-prevent or ma-stop niya ang confusion. Next, we have modeling scientific procedures and attitudes. So, creating and using scientific procedures and concepts related to student lives and interests will provide the students na mabuild ilahang scientific attitude through learning activities, and mag-grow po ilahang scientific attitudes through series of experiences nga ilang na-discover during learning process. That's why dako ang role sa teacher anha. And lastly, utilizing student experiences to create new content knowledge. Ang pag-utilize sa student experiences is way na siya para ang students is highly motivated to learn and could create new knowledge, which is a good thing to improve themselves. So our next topic is about the 6 stages of inquiry cycle. So in applying inquiry-based method into the classroom, teachers should ensure that each of the 6 stages of inquiry cycle is complete. So this 6 stages of inquiry cycle is according to Warner and Myers 2008. So the first stage is the inquisition, stating a what if or I wonder question to be investigated. So aning a stage is maghunahon na ang teacher kung unsa nga topic ang iyang i-discuss or iyang i-share sa klase. And then next, acquisition, brainstorming possible procedures. So aning a stage is mag-brainstorm ang teacher kung sa ang procedure nga iyang buhaton about sa topic. The third stage is the supposition, identifying an I think statement to test. So ani nga stage is i-test sa teacher ang iyahang inquisition o ang iyang acquisition if makatabang ba siya or dili sa students niya. And then the next stage is the implementation, designing and carrying out a plan. So ani nga stage is i-implement na sa teacher ang iyahang inquisition o ang acquisition. So the fifth stage is the summation, collecting evidence, and drawing conclusions. So, ani nga stage is makita na sa teacher ang evidence gikan sa implementation, and also na po siya conclusion and hint. And the last stage is the exhibition, sharing, and communication results. So, ani nga stage is i-share na sa teacher ang iyahang conclusions. So, that's all for my topic. And let's proceed to the next reporter.
Here are the 5 E's of inquiry-based learning: engagement, exploration, explanation, elaboration, and evaluation. So I will just tackle the first 3 E's, which are engagement, exploration, and explanation. The 5 E's model of inquiry-based learning. So the 5E model shares features with guided discovery, and many lessons can be adapted to either instructional model. This model also follows a step-by-step progression where each step builds on the previous step. So, the teachers use the 5E model to meet objectives and deliver specific concepts and explanations. This 5E model is similarly like a ladder which possesses steps that builds the whole in order to reach the peak of the foundation. So, the first E is engagement. The first step serves as an interest approach or motivator. It builds curiosity and provides direction for the remainder of the lesson. So during this stage, the question for investigation is developed, prior knowledge is activated, and procedures, rules, and safety precautions are outlined. So in this state, the teacher stimulates students' curiosity and generates interest by presenting a situation, a problem, or a question. Another, a teacher determines students' current understanding or prior knowledge of a concept or idea. A teacher invites students to express what they think. A teacher invites students to raise their own questions. So, according to Warner and Myers 2008, students should be able to immediately transition into the exploration phase. So, this first E, which is engagement, serves as the captivating point of which that allows to possess students' engagement and invites interest. So the second E is exploration. So this stage imitates guided discovery. So students manipulate the materials, make discoveries, and share their findings with their classmates and the teacher. On the other hand, the teacher also provides scaffolding by observing, questioning, and guiding. So moving forward, exploration provides concrete experience from which student learning and knowledge can build, according to Warner and Myers 2008. The role of the teacher in the exploration stage includes the following: encourages student-to-student interaction, observes and listens to the students as they interact, asks probing questions to help students make sense of their experiences, provides time for students to puzzle through problems. So, exploration phase allows students to discover, contains lots of queries to be addressed, and possesses findings. For the teachers, it makes ways for students to have an interactive approach that will help students in puzzling problems. So the third E is explanation. So in this stage, teachers invite their students to share their discoveries and explanations. So based on the descriptions provided by the students, teachers introduce relevant concepts, principles, and/or theories. Teachers should encourage students to make connections to their experiences during the exploration phase. So according to Warner and Myers 2008, again, so students and teachers utilize the concept and the experiences to describe and explain the phenomenon and answer the initial question. So here in the explanation stage, the teacher encourages students to use their common experiences and data from the engage and explore lessons to develop explanations. The teacher asks questions that help students express understanding and explanations. The teacher requests justification or evidence for students' explanations. And the teacher provides time for students to compare their ideas with those of others and perhaps to revise their thinking. Teacher also introduces terminology and alternative explanations after students express their ideas. So with this stage, explanation, it focuses more on interpreting and making a stand with the discoveries and findings presented through their experiences and justifications.
Good day everyone! So we're going to have a continuation of the 5E model of the inquiry-based learning. So the next stage is elaboration. Elaboration allows students to create connections between new concepts, principles, theories, and real-world experiences by applying them to a new situation. So it means that the students have to go beyond their capacity, like they need to build connections with other principles, theories, something like that, or they need to have new real-life experiences in order for them to apply those concepts or principles, theories, experiences to a new situation. So that's elaboration of building or creating connections. The elaboration provides an opportunity for students to move beyond memorization to deeper understanding of what they have learned. So it allows students to not just memorize what they have learned, no, but to deeply understand those. Like, have you ever tried in high school where you just memorize the concept notes when you're going to have a test tomorrow or the other day? So when kung ma-memorize magunda, when we just memorize, when we forget a certain line on that definition, like for example, like inquiry-based teaching, and we forgot the word any of the word of that definition, then you're going to scramble all your thoughts, or kanang gupot na ang imuhang thoughts about a definition. Ang ending, so familiar na siya, so makaingon ka nga, familiar lagi na siya ing ana, no? So magkagupot-gupot na kung, whereas if you deeply understand what you have learned, needless to memorize the definition, no? Kung kasabot ka sa imuhang gibasa, kung if you have deeply understand the definition or the concept of the inquiry-based teaching, then you don't need to memorize it. Kung magbasa ka lang na nimo, inquiry-based teaching ang answer ani. No? So that's elaboration. It allows students to move beyond memorization to deeper understanding. So deeply understand the concept. Small group and class classroom discussions continue to play a vital role in the learning process by allowing students to share and defend their understanding and explanation. So in this learning process, in this stage in elaboration, it allows students to defend their understandings and explanations through small group or classroom discussions. No, it won't just be your idea won't just be consumed by yourself, but it can be shared with other people. You have the chance to share it to others, defend your ideas, your opinions, your understandings, and explanations, something like that. So in this stage, the teacher focuses students' attentions on conceptual connections between new and former experiences. So what I've said earlier, so we have to build out the students can build connections through real life experiences, and it won't just focus on one experience. No, you have to compare or you have to gather experiences, former and new experiences, in order to have new knowledge, something like that. So number 2 is the teacher encourages students to use what they have learned to explain a new event or idea. So it allows students to explain their idea, to use the knowledge they've acquired to explain their idea or a certain event. No. Number 3 is the teacher reinforces students' use of scientific terms and descriptions previously introduced. And number 4, asks questions that help students draw reasonable conclusions from evidence and data. So it allows teachers to ask questions, no? And these questions can help students draw reasonable conclusions from evidence and data. So, like, they're going to explain out to share their explanation, to share what they have gathered, to share their evidences, no? And so that's elaboration. It's building connections, using those real life experiences, using those concepts, theories, principles that the students have gathered in order for them to share or to explain a new concept or a new situation, new idea, anything like that. And it also allows students to move beyond memorization to deeper understanding. To the next and the last stage of the 5E model in the inquiry-based learning is evaluation. So we have heard evaluation a lot of times already, no? But evaluation provides teachers an opportunity to assess students' knowledge and provide feedback on performance. So this is what we have encountered about the definition of evaluation. No? It provides teachers an opportunity to provide feedback or give to assess students' knowledge on the concept that they have discussed or they have learned from that lesson, and an opportunity to provide feedback on what are the strengths and weaknesses of the students from that certain lesson. No? So there are like 2 types of informal assessment and feedback, the informal and the formal. So informal assessment and feedback may be provided throughout the inquiry learning process to reassure, encourage, or direct students. So informal assessment and feedback may happen during the learning process or during the discussion, no? to reassure, encourage students to assess what they have grasped from the discussion from time to time. No, it's like the sudden or the random calling of students to answer your questions. No, that's the informal assessment and feedback. Formal assessments such as tests or projects provide the teacher with feedback and allow them to determine how much the students have learned from the activity. So if the informal assessment and feedback may happen during the process of the inquiry learning, so informal assessments happened after the inquiry learning. It's like the test and projects that the teacher will give to the students after the lesson or after the discussions that they have done. Now it allows them to determine how the students have learned from the activity, what they have learned, and what needs to be improved on that. No, so that's the difference between the just focus on those two assessments and feedbacks, no, the informal and the formal one. So students should also be encouraged to utilize self-assessment throughout the learning process. So, dili lang kay ang teacher lang ang mohatag sa assessment during evaluation, no? So the students should also need to evaluate or to assess, to reflect on themselves, no? In that way, they will also know what are their strengths and weaknesses, what they have learned, or what are the things that needs improvement. So, lahi-lahi magud we have our different perceptions, no? The teacher thought that we have learned thoroughly on that discussion, but we thought in ourselves na wala kayo kung kasabot, no? The teacher in this stage observes and records as students demonstrate their understanding of the concepts and performance of skills. Teacher also provides time for students to compare their ideas with those of others and perhaps to revise their thinking. So it allows teachers to give activity to students where they would be able to think the concept on their own, pair with other students, and then share to them what they have learned, and then make a new concept out of it. So revise their thinking. So the teacher in this stage also interviews students as a means of assessing their developing understanding. So the teacher would make a reflective question. So magamit ang reflective teaching. Ano, no? So the teacher have to make reflective questions, no? You have to ask the questions. What have you learned from this discussion? What are your takeaways from that discussion? So what can I improve from my discussion? So ingana. So the next is the teacher in this stage encourages students to assess their own progress. So as what I've said earlier, that it is also important to students to have a self-assessment. So in that matter, the student can assess their own progress, no, because we have different perceptions. So as what I've said earlier, that someone thought that we deeply understand the concept, yet we thought in ourselves that we didn't really get the grasp on that concept. It is important to do self-assessment, self-evaluation, self-reflection sa mga students sad. So dili lang kay si teacher lang per mag-provide og assessment of feedback. How about the students themselves, no? And so this is the 5E model of inquiry-based learning, no? The 5 stages. We have the engagement, the engagement and the learning process, or the inquiry learning. The exploration on different concepts, no? Finding relevant information that are related to the concept. Explain. They have the way they explain, or they have to explain those concepts that they have covered, those concepts that are related to the concept, to the current concept, no? Explain. That's it. Explain. Elaborate, to move beyond memorization to deeper understanding, no? From building, creating connections, no? From real life experiences, from those principles and such, no? And elaborate with other people, like that. And lastly is the evaluate, no? The assessment and feedbacks provided that will be provided to the students or made by the teachers or the students themselves, no, to assess what they have learned from that concept. More na ang learning process sa inquiry-based learning, no? Na mag-focus, engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and lastly, the evaluate. So, dili na mawala ang evaluate, no? So, So, we have this sample scenario, no? So, natay some sample scenario about this inquiry-based teaching. So, here's a sample scenario of inquiry-based teaching in mathematics. So, it was taken from Ernst, Hodge, and Yoshinobu of 2017. Students investigate why an algorithm for comparing fractions works. The algorithm is to find which fraction is larger, A over B or C over D, by cross-multiplying and comparing AB versus BC. The larger side indicates the larger fraction. Students start by studying equivalent fractions and more generally the notion of equivalence. The two objects can be equal yet have non-identical expressions. As they work through the set of problems, key ideas appear and students find a pathway of ideas and techniques that enables them to understand the original question, eventually justifying the algorithm as really a shortcut to comparing numerators or fractions with the same denominator. So, that's what happens activity, no? That's the scenario. So we can really see the 5E model on that, no? The engagement. So the way that the students was engaged on the activity, no? That's already the engagement. The explore. So how they find or how they were able to get to gather ideas or relevant information regarding to the concept that you are studying, no? On the comparison of, for comparing the comparison of fractions. So how relevant algorithm for that, no? And then they explain. So why did it happen? Why an algorithm for comparing fractions works? So and the elaboration. So how they elaborate with other people, their classmates. So how they gather or create connections from different principles, theories, real-world experiences. So they move beyond the memorization to deeper understanding. We can see the last E, the evaluate, but maybe the teacher have already provided rubrics later that activity, earlier that activity on the so they can base what their assessment on that, no? So to a mathematician, this fact may be obvious. So the future teachers, it likely is not obvious. So many of them have only seen or memorized the algorithm. It is hard enough to teach well something you understand, much less something you have only memorized. So the last statements are under the elaboration. It is hard to explain a concept if you just have memorized that concept. So unsaon man mo pag-explain ara nga concept kung unsaon man mo pag-explain ana nga concept kung imo ra na siya nang gi-memorize. So wala ka sa the example for this is like what I'm doing. So how was I able to provide this discussion if I just merely memorized the definition of elaboration and evaluation. So wala hindi ko ka-memorize sa ilang definition, no? I just thought of kanang ang ilaharang unsay meaning ana nila, unsay meaning sa elaboration, unsay meaning sa evaluation. And then that's what I've said to you or shared to you about this. So that's it, no? Okay, that's it on my part, and I think it's the last part. Thank you for listening, future mathematicians, and I hope that you've learned something from our discussions. Have a good day.